My friends, in the event that you are new to this wonderful card game and you have not yet signed up for a UGN Play account, you can now sign up with my exclusive referral code Alliteration and get yourself 50 bonus loyalty points for free, as well as additional loyalty points for every event that you play in within my referral code period. Why do you need these, you might ask? Well, loyalty points can be used to redeem free promotional cards in the mail, as well as other exclusive items coming in the future. The bonus points from using my code are enough to redeem almost any promo card right off the bat, and having your UGN account is going to allow you to accrue and track more and more as you go through your hero or villain's journey. If free cards and progression all sound super appealing to you, the links for all of this are going to be in the description below. Now, let's get on to the video. Welcome, my dear viewers, to another Alliteration gaming video. My name's Levi, and today we're going to do something a little different. This is an idea I had the other night when a conversation in the main Discord server between Osei Tyson and I, and a couple other people tagging in here and there, regarding a certain Omni block in our game that some consider quite ban-worthy. Ultimately, the topic resulted in actually a really healthy and fun and kind of intriguing conversation that I actually felt was really worth having at the end of the day regarding the legality of this card and whether it actually deserves it or not. So much so that I thought it would make a fun little video, possibly turning into a series. I'm not sure if there's that many cards in this game that are actually like promote a healthy discussion on whether they should be banned or not, because it's like, that's such a like intense and cutthroat thing. But who knows? I mean, we could also feature cards that like should actually be banned. It doesn't always have to be like a healthy eye-opening thing, because sometimes there might just be some cards that straight up need to hit the road, no questions asked. Regardless though of whether or not that is the end goal of the conversation, I still want the conversation to be healthy and to promote an intriguing and thoughtful debate regardless of which side you actually stand on. So what is said card in question? Well, if my keynotes so far, and probably the title as well, haven't clued you in, today we're going to be talking about Faith Shield. Should it be banned or not? So first of all, let's go over what Faith Shield actually does. Faith Shield is a 2/4 foundation with a +3 mid block. The 2 difficulty number is fairly irrelevant because we are rarely building this card. However, the 4 check is very relevant. The +3 mid block, not so much. Why? Because Faith Shield has 2 abilities. One of them is an enhance that can destroy itself to give -2 damage to a charge or stun attack. This is a very negligible ability. There are rare instances where we have to build this card early on just because it might be like our only foundation or something like that. So it's nice that it does do something on board. Charge and stun attacks are very relevant keywords. But at the end of the day, this ability is not going to get much chance to shine because the primary purpose of Faith Shield is for its first ability. Response, remove itself. After you block with this card, the attack deals no damage and you get to flip the attack after it resolves. So this is a lot of things going on here. First of all, you're removing this card, meaning you clear your defensive progressive difficulty. Second, it deals no damage, so you automatically counter throws, things like electric jolt, laceration, anything that's trying to cheese damage in somehow, and it's a mid block, meaning you stop it no matter what the zone is. And then you get to flip the attack as well after it resolves. So you get to stop interactions like Ochako and Bakugo, and then you also clog up their card pool with a face down card now, so you're preventing a lot of their combo abilities as well. Overall, this card is doing a whole lot of things. It is an Omni block, it acts as a floodgate against certain combo decks, and it clears itself defensively as a block. This card is just doing way too much depending on who you ask, and so we're here to ask that question itself. Should Faith Shield be banned? Now, to truly judge whether Faith Shield or not is ban-worthy, there's 2 angles that I want to look at this card in. And I think you can pass judgment on it by either of these 2 angles and it makes sense, but we do need to look at them both in order to get a global picture of how exactly we're going to answer such a problematic card like this. So the 2 angles that I want to talk about when it comes to Faith Shield are conception and circumstances. The first being conceptually, should the card be allowed to exist? Should the game have an Omni block, or should the game have such a floodgate like this? The second angle is circumstances. If we deem this concept worthy enough to exist and balanced enough to exist, what are the circumstances surrounding it? How is it balanced? What are the drawbacks? What are the trade-offs to a card like this existing? Essentially, we are posing the question, is the concept of a card like Faith Shield too strong to exist, or can it exist under balanced circumstances? So conceptually, I think Faith Shield is actually okay. The idea of having an Omni block in the game that is an out to things like throws and electric jolt type cards, and something that stops combos and gets in the way of chains like that, conceptually, I think that is okay to exist in the game. Faith Shield is an answer to a lot of things in the game, and naturally so, printing answers to stronger cards is simply how you handle that back and forth and keep things like power creep in line. I don't think the concept of an Omni block or something that flips an attack is too impossible to ever exist on a card. It just needs to exist under the right circumstances. So let's talk about the other half of that chain now, and that's the circumstances. What are the balancing factors of having this concept on a card? What is the push and what is the pull? What is the feast and what is the famine? What are the trade-offs? Well, quite frankly, Faith Shield has none. Faith Shield has almost no balancing factors whatsoever, save for the fact that the card checks a 4. I think that is the only thing that said, yeah, they looked at this ability and said, this might be very strong. How do we bring it a little in line? It has to check a 4. But that is the only real downside to putting Faith Shield in your deck, is sometimes your check of a foundation might be a little more inadequate. The actual benefit that you get from having such a powerful card like Faith Shield in your deck just outweighs that minor balancing factor so hardcore. So if the sheer concept of Faith Shield is so okay, how exactly do we balance it? Well, there's a million ways. First thing, Faith Shield could have just been an action card with this on-block effect. Obviously, we don't build Faith Shield very much, but just straight up remove the utility of being able to build it, actually make it a little cloggy in your hand so it actually can mess you up on those turn 1s and turn 2s, and makes holding it a little bit weaker in a lot of aspects. Another thing that I really want to note about the power of Faith Shield is the symbols. Earth, Life, and Water are 3 of the strongest symbols in the game. Earth probably being the strongest, and Life being the big benefactor of previous format, and Water being a beast since the game first came out. So like right off the bat, Faith Shield has 3 really powerful symbols. Also, I think these are probably the 3 best defensive symbols as well. You could maybe make an argument for like Void's defense, but I think that strength more so lies in their control. The raw defensive power of these 3 symbols is pretty much unrivaled before Faith Shield existed, and so they only made it stronger. Like, it's a very much like a rich get richer type of thing. Imagine if Faith Shield had, like, I don't know, all evil and order. Would it really be that strong of a card then? Obviously, like, in a vacuum, it would still be the same power level of a card, but when it's in symbols that are just weaker overall, and specifically in symbols that don't have like such busted interactions and can abuse it as much, I think the card is a lot less powerful. So that's another way they could balance it. Another balancing factor that could exist in Faith Shield is the card does 3 things, and it could do any one of those things and still be very playable. So I think there's a world where we could say, maybe we let Faith Shield still remove itself, but you only didn't get to do one of the things. You can say the attack deals no damage, or you can flip it. Now, most of the time, you're not really needed to do both of those, so I think it's still really strong. So I don't really think this puts a whole balancing factor on Faith Shield. If anything, this might just drive home the fact that an Omni block and a flip their attack Floodgate should not exist on the same card. I think you would have to attack so many other angles of Faith Shield so hardcore to leave all 3 of these benefits on the card itself. And I'm kind of a much bigger fan of just saying the card only gets to do one of those things on its text ever, and then moving the concept of the other remaining factor onto some other card. Another angle you could attack that change at is implementing character only abilities. Obviously, like, this is a Shiozaki card. The whole Faith Shield is very much like her thing. So maybe you could say response remove, after you block with this, it deals no damage. Then if your character is Shiozaki, flip it after it resolves. Right, if you wanted to leave both of these things on the card and not completely neuter the card, I think that's a way you could do it. That's more of a niche balancing factor, but it is an angle to consider if you wanted to try balancing this card. Now, if you do want to leave all of these things on the card, there's other angles to attack the card at. You could do the aforementioned make it an action. You could have it check a 3. If this was an action that checked a 3, and then heck, maybe it had like a +4 or +5 mid block, I think I'd feel a lot better about this card existing in the format. It becomes like an actual boon to your deck building aspect somehow. It can clog your hand up. There can be actual issues you'd run into, and you can't just play this card willy-nilly. So those are kind of the 2 angles I think you could attack when you're looking to balance a card like Faith Shield. You can either destroy the concept, maybe both of these things, the Omni block and the Floodgate, don't need to exist on the same card, or if you want to keep that concept intact, you just have to neuter the rest of the card, right? Make it an action, make it check a 3, make the block mod worse. There are a lot of different ways you could hit the card numerically speaking, take away all of its other value, make it a little more inconvenient so that you're actually paying some kind of a price and surrendering some of the convenient circumstances of your deck building process to run such a powerful answer card. Speaking of answer cards, I think that's another angle you could try to balance the card. If you wanted to leave Faith Shield completely alone, print answers to it. Obviously, Faith Shield is an answer to things. Well, give some decks the answer to the answer. Continue the type of counterplay that this game is so good at. The only thing we really had in the past was something like Mentor Legacy Punch, which could stop Faith Shield, but was really just not a very good card overall. I don't think it was ever worth playing that card just to counter Faith Shield, but now we have things like Evil versus Good that are standalone a pretty solid card overall, and also have the ability to stop something like Faith Shield. Freezer Burn, the Todoroki attack in Heroes Clash, also has the ability to stop Faith Shield. So again, these are very minor examples, but they are cards that you can put in your decks just for the sole value of what they provide, and they also happen to double as an answer to such a powerful card like Faith Shield. So what's the overall verdict? Does Faith Shield need to be banned? I don't think Faith Shield needs to be banned. I think it could do with an errata or two. I really don't like it existing in its current state, untethered, personally speaking. I wish there were some more balancing aspects, and I wouldn't mind seeing, I could see a ban to the card and then a re-release of a new card that's essentially the same thing, but with some of those changes implemented, or simply some kind of simple errata. I think conceptually there is a way you can create this card and have it be balanced, but you do have to balance it. In its current state, Faith Shield gets away with all of the benefits and not a singular drawback, and while it may not be an exactly problematic card in this day of the current meta, it's still something that I think really hinders a lot of decks coming into the format, and is overall just not a very healthy symptom of game design. So the conclusion I've kind of arrived at with Faith Shield is I don't think a ban is super necessary, but I'd like to see an errata or two on it, or if you need to change it that much, you can just ban it and then re-release a new, more balanced version of it that falls more in line with the balanced philosophy of this game. So guys, that is the end of the video. Thanks so much for watching all the way to the end if you did. This was pretty fun to make, and I definitely wouldn't mind making more like it in the future. If you have your own suggestions for cards that could promote an interesting discussion in a type of video like this, please also leave those down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, I'd love if you could leave me some feedback between the like and dislike buttons, and drop some knowledge in the comment section below. Maybe you have your own opinions or insight into Faith Shield. I'd love to hear your thoughts on my opinions regarding this card. And if you really liked what you saw, hit the subscribe button too, because I'm putting out 6 videos a week, nearly daily uploads on this channel of nothing but MHA CCG content. We do deck profiles, we do gameplay, we do meta discussions, tier lists, all kinds of stuff like that. And then sometimes we do some random little one-off things like this too that may turn into a bit more of a series if you guys really like it. But guys, those are discussions for another day. That's simply all the time I've got for this video. Thanks again for watching all the way to the end, and I hope I'll see you on the next one. This has been Levi, signing off.